Greetings to one and all, it's your old buddy Jay here, coming at you with another Countermeasures game changer. Now, today I have decided that I would like to go back and revisit a game that I reviewed earlier, towards the end of last year. It actually wasn't a review of the full game, it was a review of the demo. So the game in question is Marvel's Avengers, the video game. This is a game that came out in 2020. It is an action role-playing brawler. This video game was created and developed by Crystal Dynamics and published by Square Enix. It is based on the comic superhero team, the Avengers, of which there have also been many films. It is obviously linked to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but it doesn't use any of the celebrities and the uber famous people that appear in those movies, which was one of the downsides to my original look at the demo that came out, like I said, towards the tail end of last year. Now, I decided to come back to this because initially I totally bagged on this franchise. This game, I didn't really think it was very good when I played the demo. I didn't really like the feel of it. I wasn't convinced about the kind of the bus driver stand-ins that were, all the people that weren't quite the famous people that you'd come to know who play Captain America and Iron Man, etc. Now, I've actually had some time, it's been around for a little while now, this game, and I've actually had some quality time spent with it, where I thought, well, with all these things, first impressions obviously last, but I do like to go back and actually revisit the ones that I don't particularly get a good feeling for, and with this one, I've always been a massive comic fan, as I always bang on about, and I do love all kind of nerd media, so I thought that I would actually go back and give this one a go, because I did feel that I was tailor-made to be the audience for this game. I like all my comics, I like all the stories behind it, I've read them throughout my entire life, and I know about the Avengers and Iron Man and Captain America and all those backstories, and then the films came out and made it, this even sort of bigger cultural phenomenon. They've been incredibly successful. So why did this game fail? This game did massively bad. It didn't do very well when it came out. According to Steam, who obviously keep track of the concurrent players. Now, at the moment, there's only just over 2,000 people playing this around the world, which is incredibly low for what this game was originally aimed at. So if you think of games like Outriders, which just came out recently, and they did release a demo about a month ago, that game came out, and they at the point of sale, there were 128,000 people playing concurrently on Steam. Now, that's not to say that there aren't many more playing on consoles. It's much more difficult to track who's actually playing on consoles. But as far as PC gaming goes, Steam can actually track that. And like I said, for Outriders, it was 128,000. I think when this game came out initially, there was only about 25 or 30,000 people playing it globally on the Steam tracker. Now there's only about 2,000. That doesn't account, like I said, for the consoles. So there may be more people playing it on the consoles. And the reason that I waited to play this is because I'm primarily a console player. I do have I'm lucky enough to have one of the PS5s, and I was waiting for the upgrade for this game to come out so that I could then sort of dive in and do the full 60 frames and all the benefit from all the 4K and any ray tracing and all the other bits and pieces that's kind of tagged onto this to make it the best experience that it can be. Now, I will say that a lot of the things that I commented on in the original demo review that I did, I do think that they hold fast throughout this game. So, things like I said, the replacement people playing the characters so close to the films coming out is definitely a downside. I think the connectivity of your character in the world, you don't really feel very grounded in this game, so you don't really feel connected to your environment. There's a certain floaty feel about it, as you can see here with this this character Kamala Khan, she kind of feels a little bit floaty, which it isn't very good when you're trying to do this world building, and and it comes out being a little bit like you're disconnected from it. It immediately takes me out of it. Now I have to say that the design, the overall look and feel of the game, I thought was actually very good in the end. I thought that all the different costumes looked really cool. I thought that the way the game actually look, when you pause the screen, it looks pretty impressive. So a lot of the screenshots look really good. All the shadows are really good. The textures are really good. They've obviously spent a lot of time building in the mechanics of how each character can move around this environment. So as you can see here, Kamala Khan sort of has a sort of Spider-Man-like power, really, which is that she swings off things with her stretchy arms. And I say Spider-Man in as much as that's the kind of mechanic that you'd expect Spider-Man to have in this game, and eventually he will be in this game, and I'm assuming that that's just going to be literally a reskin, I should think. But her powers of being stretchy are obviously more like Mr. Fantastic, who is probably one of my least favourite characters in the Marvel universe, and I think that is an issue that I have with the general campaign overall, is that while Kamala Khan's character is very interesting, she's essentially like a nerdy kid who's grown up with Avengers and has this kind of aspirational attitude, and wants to be an Avenger, having, the story sort of continues on in that she gets special powers due to an accident that happens, which is blamed on the Avengers. So she has this kind of aspirational outlook on life, which I think is really good, and her character is really well written. I just don't like her powers. There's something really freaky about having, super enlarged arms, or like really stretchy body, or, being able to bounce everywhere. And it just throws back to the old kind of 80s cartoon of Plastic Man, which I always just found a bit of a joke. And, I don't really like the abilities of that character. So immediately I was switched off, not to her personally, because I think her voice acting is very good. I think she's really well written, and I think she fits very well in this kind of universe where, the story is the Avengers have been blamed for an accident that happened, so they split up, and then it's her job to basically go around and bring them all back together using her kind of, her aspiring heroic attitude to try and convince them that actually the world is worth saving, etc., etc. And AIM is the main antagonist in this, who's basically sort of turned the world into a kind of militant state, and then you gradually just go through the story, collecting different characters like Iron Man and the Hulk, and rebuilding the Avengers basically, and it is quite good in terms of the single player campaign. I must admit there were moments where I really did enjoy it, despite the fact that there are flaws, like I mentioned before in my demo review. I did feel that the story itself was quite interesting and quite engaging, and the missions aren't particularly that long, and there's lots of side quests to do, so you could kind of jump in for about half an hour, just bash it all out and have a really sort of fun time, and then go off and get on with your life, and then come back to it the next day, and all the time you're progressing and building up your character, and I did really like that. So in that respect, I actually got into a little bit of a groove with it, where I was paying for like an hour here and there. The story was progressing, and it was actually, like I said, quite engaging, and I did quite like the main story, despite its flaws. So like I said, it looks good. The story is pretty sound, and for me, I think it ticked a lot of the boxes for sort of the whole kind of keeping the nerds happy, and being sort of keeping the fan base happy. So I think they did really well on that, but it is still failing, and the main core problem with this game is it has an egregious kind of I don't know how else to say it really. It's just a huge, great big shop is built into this game. So the idea behind this originally was that they do the kind of the main story, of which you could play through the campaign, and it's like a glorified tutorial, and then the core elements that also go along with this game is a whole kind of like Destiny based idea that you would jump in with your friends and do different missions, and you can build up your characters and then build up their suits, and you start to kind of have your different costumes. Your friend has one costume that you like it, so you want to grind it out to try and earn that costume. But then some of the costumes you can't grind out, you actually have to purchase them, and that's where the problem massively lies in this. And I think that also the kind of response from the general fans of gaming and of the comic books is that it was just too much. You can't build a game based around what is essentially just a massive marketing tool for microtransactions. There are a huge amount of microtransactions in here. I mean, spoilers, surprisingly, Captain America does turn up in this game, and for many missions you're playing him without his helmet on. Now, I know that that's something that the story kind of leads into the idea that he's not fully back as Captain America, and he's kind of slowly getting his powers back and all that kind of stuff, and easing back into being a hero again. But the problem is that I just want to play as Captain America with his helmet on. So immediately, if I wanted to do that, I would then go into the menu system and have to purchase him. Now, they never talk about real money, because you'll go into the menu system and it will say like 1,400 crystals or whatever, but you can only get those crystals if you actually go to the PlayStation store, and those crystals are really expensive. So for like 1,400 crystals is around about £8 or £9. So that's £8 or £9 for one skin. And these characters have maybe 10 or 20 different skins for each of them. And some of them you get as you play the game. Some of them you get as you do the side missions, so that you can qualify for different gear types. And as the game progresses, you get different outfits, but not very many. They really are steering you towards that shop. And not only that, you could kind of forgive them if, firstly, if the price was lower, but you could kind of forgive them if, they just want to throw a whole load of outfits in there, and there are so many sort of off the wall ones that people really want to sort of wear while they're playing the multiplayer, then you can understand that would be something that maybe you might want to invest in, but not the majority of the audience of people that are playing this game. It just comes across as being way too over the top and egregious. So because of that, there are also other assets in the shop that you can purchase. So different moves, for example. So you don't even get the full skill set of your characters. You just get the ability to add new special moves to your characters, or you get the ability to add different emotes and things like that. So things that you should really be earning in the game for free. I mean, if anyone's played Miles Morales or The Amazing Spider-Man on the PS4 or PS5, you'll know that once you buy that game, all of that stuff just comes in it. It comes along with it, because you just basically grind it out to get those costumes and those abilities, which is what all games should do. But this game locks everything behind a paywall, and because of that, I think people have just had enough of it. And it's not a game like Destiny that has a huge following already, and people are well invested in all of that. And if you're into that kind of gameplay and that sort of repetition of grinding out different levels to kind of get new gear, loot drops and all that kind of stuff, then that's your thing, and that's fine, because you can earn the majority of what that game has to offer within the gameplay itself, not having to go to the store every 5 minutes to change your boots or the color of your scarf or something, and I found myself as I was playing thinking, I wish my character looked a bit better. I wish they were wearing that cool outfit, which is obviously the marketing side of this doing its job. But the flip side of that is that I managed to avoid buying anything from the store, but there was tons of stuff in there that would have made my game much more, I would have had a much better experience. So for that reason and that reason alone, it has to die. It has to be the end of it. I mean, Anthem had a similar problem where the gameplay loop wasn't enough to keep people in, and there was a shop that was just too over the top, and this suffers from it as well. And I'm really hoping that this is a massive example of how not to do it and how to fail at it. And because of that failing, I'm hoping that other people will look at it and say, well, maybe this isn't the right way to go for this model, because obviously it does, even with a huge franchise like this, it does mean that it doesn't matter what the branding is. If people think you're taking a piss, then they're just not going to invest their time and money in it. And because of that, it has it obviously has a very low fan base. Not as many people are playing it as they thought that they would be by this stage, and I think it's a real real shame, because the core element, like I said, of the the campaign is actually very good, and I did enjoy it and it was fun. But I don't think it was worth the £60 tag on the PlayStation Store. I don't think the deluxe version, which I think was like £90 at some point, which came with like a load of extra crystals and some costumes, was the right way to go. It's just way too expensive for what this is, and I think that they've really they've taken something that could have been a really great single player experience, and they've just turned it into this kind of wannabe money machine, and it's completely failed. And I'm glad that it's failed, because I don't want to see this in games anymore. I'm sick of seeing this kind of egregious approach to I've used egregious a few times, but it's the right place for that word, because it is over the top and it is way too expensive, and just lock. I mean, here you can see all the different suits, and they're all locked, behind a paywall. You get a few as you play, but they're not as good as the ones you want to be playing with. So yeah, I'm very sad about that part of it, which is something that even after all this time, I thought they would have actually dialed that back, or like they did with Battlefront 2. I think they just took it down and then put it back up again without all of the loot box stuff in it, and people were a lot happier, even though that ultimately did damage that game for its entire lifespan. People were happy that that was addressed. But as the Avengers stands here on the PS5, it is still just as bad as it was when it launched, and if nothing else, the other problem is that there's loads of bugs in it. I mean, you saw earlier where Kamala Khan was running through some of the rocks and the clipping and that kind of stuff. That happens a lot in this game. I got to about a third the way through this game, and basically there was a part where Tony Stark needed to go and put on one of his repulsor wrist launchers, and there was a problem, the artifacting of one of the tables, which was disjointed, and it basically blocked me from continuing the mission. So the design, all these explosions and all of the lighting and everything looks great. That's fine. Fix the bloody storyline, fix the gameplay. I don't care about all of this stuff if I can't progress, if I can't progress the story. Spend half of the time on the explosions that you needed to, and actually fix the artifacting in some of this stuff, because there's obviously problems. And it stopped me from playing the game for about 3 days, and then I complained to Square Enix, and I found a lot of other people had run into the same problem more or less around the same time I did, and then they just released a patch, and it did fix it for me, but I know that a lot of other people that were still stuck on that, it didn't fix it for them. So that in itself is just completely just not acceptable. So yeah, pretty disappointed about that as well. So overall I feel like, I think I gave this a 2 if I remember correctly when I did the demo, but I think it is more than that, because I do feel that, like, if you can get past all of the egregious, what is wrong with me? I'm stuck on egregious today. If you get over all of the excessive monetization that's gone into this game, behind it is actually quite a good game that you might want to play. And there's some DLC that's coming out. So you've got like the Hawkeye DLC, which is out. There's a Kate Bishop, which is I think Hawkeye's daughter in the stories, or certainly the female version of Hawkeye. They both have their DLC out at the moment, so that all comes as part and parcel of it, which I think is very good. And they're talking about Spider-Man coming out later this year, which he should have already been out already, and Black Panther as well. There's a whole thing about Black Panther coming out, and I think the problem is by the time those things come out, this thing will be dead already. I think though that will be this was meant to run for years and years, and they've just cocked it up basically, and people just aren't willing to forgive them, and I don't think you should either, because it is a massive cash grab on a franchise, which unfortunately I think it could have been done a lot more justice. They've really kind of ruined any sort of future attempt of Marvel doing something on such a grand scale. The next game that comes out, maybe it's an X-Men game or something like that, better not have all of this bullshit in it, because it's just going to fail just as like this one will do. And I'll probably revisit this again in a few months or 6 months time, or maybe a year, and see where it is. See whether Square Enix have actually Crystal Dynamics have actually looked at fixing a lot of these issues, just make the shop free, drop the costs, remove it. I don't care. It is ruining this game, and it's turned a lot of people off. So unfortunately, I mean, the next gen version was free, but that was only the upgrade if you bought the PS4 one, which I had previously. So I mean, I don't really know what else to say about this other than it's not a 2. I reckon if it didn't have all the shop stuff and all the other crap going on in it, I think maybe it might be a 7, possibly an 8, because I did enjoy my time with it. But I have to mark it down for the exploitation, especially the younger market. I think it's disgusting, to be entirely honest with you. So I'm going to give this a 4. I think it's a 4 out of 10. I think it's 4, could try better. So could try harder, could do better. And yeah, I'm not really sure that it warrants a sequel. And like I said, I'm interested to see what happens to this over the next 12 months. But I just wanted to talk about it. And thanks for tuning in and my sort of rant about loot boxes and monetization of games, which I'm sure I'm going to be talking about this a lot more in the future, because it doesn't seem to be going away, but I really wish it would. So that's all that's left to say, other than I hope you liked this video. I'm getting more and more positive feedback on the gaming stuff that I've been doing and some of the filming stuff, and obviously predominantly this channel is based around design and graphic design and the design and advertising industry, of which I've worked in for a long time. And I also do these little sort of impromptu videos on the side as well, just talking about the kind of industry side of gaming and the kind of design and artistic approaches to some of these games, which I quite enjoy doing. And it's just a chance to have a little bit of a rant. And like I said, I do appreciate your positive feedback, because I've been getting good feedback on this. Obviously the episodes that go up that are more design based and talking about like history among design gets a lot more kind of hits and a lot more likes, but this is slowly growing, and I hope that you'll consider coming back and listening to some more, because I've got no plans of stopping anytime soon. And whether you're happy or sad about that, who knows, but yeah, I would appreciate any likes or any comments or any dislikes, just to open up a little bit of Discord. I'd appreciate that. Whenever you like. And I guess all that's left to say is be good, stay safe, and be kind to one another. Cheers.